thyroid gland. So this is the location of the thyroid gland. Okay, so thyroid gland is found in the neck below the thyroid cartilage. So this one is thyroid cartilage of the larynx. The gland is located below the thyroid cartilage, and this below the Adam's apple. So thyroid cartilage was forming the laryngeal prominence or Adam's apple, and it produces the thyroid hormones. The principal ones being the triiodothyronine T3 and thyroxine. Thyroxine is also referred to as tetraiodothyronine T4, and these hormones regulate the growth and rate of function of many other systems in the body. Okay. So and T3, T4 are synthesized from iodine and tyrosine, and this thyroid also produces the calcitonin, okay, from parafollicular C cells, which plays a role in the calcium hemostasis. Okay, so these are the main functions. Okay, so this is one endocrine gland situated in the lower part of the front and the side of the neck, extends from oblique line of thyroid cartilage here, oblique line of thyroid cartilage to the fifth or sixth tracheal ring below. Okay. This location is important for your tracheostomy operations. Okay. During tracheostomy, there is high chance of injury to this isthmus region of the thyroid. Okay. So, and it lies against C5, 6, C7 and T1 vertebra. It consists of two lobes, right and left lobes, and joined by the isthmus. Sometimes a third pyramidal lobe may project upward from the isthmus. See, this projecting lobe from the isthmus, this is pyramidal lobe. Okay, it is not always present. It is covered by capsule. Thyroid gland has two capsules, true capsule and false capsule. False capsule is formed by the pretracheal layer of the deep cervical fossa, and true capsule is formed by the condensation of the stroma of the gland. Okay. It is larger in females than in males. And what is the development? It is developed from the endoderm of the floor of primitive oral cavity in the region of future foramen cecum and ultimobranchial body. So this is the development of the thyroid gland. Now how the secretion from the gland is controlled. Hormonal output from the thyroid gland, it is regulated by the thyroid stimulating hormone TSH. Okay. It is produced by the anterior pituitary. In case of hypothyroidism, when the T3 and T4 levels are decreasing, the TSH secretion increases to stimulate the gland more. Okay. So which this TSH is again regulated by thyrotropin releasing hormone TRH produced by the hypothalamus. Okay. So this is how the secretion of the gland is controlled. So it is the largest endocrine gland, extends from C5 to T1. These are the special features of the thyroid gland. Okay. It is the only endocrine gland located superficially. Okay, these parts are important for your MCQ purposes. Okay, so this extent is important. These extra special features are important for your MCQs. So only endocrine gland located superficially. It is the only endocrine gland which depend on external environment for the raw material iodine to synthesize the hormones T3 and T4. Only the endocrine gland which has the ability to store the hormones and release it when required. Other endocrine gland directly release the hormones into the bloodstream. They cannot store the hormone, but in thyroid it can be stored. Weight of the gland is about 25 gram, and what is the dimension of the gland? It is 5 centimeter into 3 centimeter into 2 centimeters. This is the dimension of the gland. And lateral lobe of thyroid extends from oblique line of the thyroid cartilage up to 5th or 6th tracheal ring. This is the extent of lateral lobe of thyroid gland. and the isthmus lies in front of second and third tracheal rings. Next, we are going to presenting parts of the thyroid gland. Thyroid gland is butterfly-shaped gland, and it is composed of two cone-like lobes, or which represents the wings of the butterfly. So these are the lobes of the thyroid gland. Lobus dexter is the right lobe and lobus sinister is left lobe, and it is connected via the isthmus. This middle part is the isthmus. This is view from the posterior aspect and this is view from the anterior aspect. Two lobes, right and left thyroid lobes, and this is isthmus portion connecting the two lobes. Okay, and this is view from the posterior aspect. This is along the posterior border lies the parathyroid glands. See this yellow colored one, these are the parathyroid gland, superior parathyroid gland and inferior parathyroid gland. Okay, and see the surfaces. This is posterolateral surface. There will be posterior surface which is visible here, posterior surface, and this is medial surface. Okay, so these are the different surfaces of the thyroid gland, and borders are, this is anterior border from the apex of the gland up to the isthmus. This is anterior border. Here is the posterior border separating the posterolateral surface from the posterior surface. So the organ is situated on the anterior side of the neck, lying against and around the larynx and trachea. See, this part is larynx and lower part is the trachea. It is lying against larynx and trachea, reaching posteriorly up to the esophagus and carotid sheath. And it starts cranially at the oblique line of the thyroid cartilage here, just below the laryngeal prominence or Adam's apple, and extends inferiorly approximately up to the 5th or 6th tracheal ring here. And it is difficult to demarcate the gland's upper and lower border with vertebral level because it moves position in relation to these structures during swallowing. Okay, during swallowing the thyroid gland moves. Now we are going to relations of the lobes. The two lobes are conical in shape, right and left lobe. It has an apex, a base, three surfaces, two borders. Okay, apex is directed above, base is directed below, and three surfaces are lateral surface, medial surface, and posterolateral surface. Okay, so this is lateral view. Here you can see this is lateral surface. Okay, posteriorly will be the posterolateral surface, and medial side, which is in relation with the trachea and larynx, that is medial surface. And two borders are anterior border, this is anterior border, and posterior border. Posterior border will separate the posterolateral surface from the lateral surface. So apex is directed upward and slightly laterally here. Base on the level of 4th or 5th tracheal rings. And lateral surface is this one. It is convex and covered by this infrahyoid group of muscles. Sternohyoid, superior belly of omohyoid, sternothyroid, anterior border of the sternocleidomastoid. All these lying in relation with the lateral surface. Next we are going to medial surface. These medial surface relations are very frequently asked in your viva. Okay, there are two tubes, two muscles, and two nerves. Two tubes are trachea and esophagus. Two muscles are inferior constrictor and cricothyroid, and two nerves are external laryngeal and recurrent laryngeal nerve. Okay, here this is along the superior aspect of the thyroid, this is external laryngeal. Along the inferior part or near the base, here is the recurrent laryngeal nerve. Okay, and two muscles are the inferior constrictor and cricothyroid. Two muscles, and two tubes are the trachea in front and esophagus. So all those are lying in relation with the medial surface of the thyroid gland. Very frequently asked in your viva, medial surface relations. Posterolateral surface lies in relation with carotid sheath and overlaps the common carotid artery. Next, anterior border, here lies anterior branch of superior thyroid artery. See the branching, this is superior thyroid artery, it is giving two branches, anterior branch and posterior branch. Anterior branch lying along the anterior border, posterior branch lying along the posterior border of the thyroid gland, and this is inferior thyroid artery. So, and along the anterior border lies anterior branch of superior thyroid artery, and posterior border separates the medial surface and posterior surface. Posterior surface means posterolateral surface, and these are the relations of the posterior border. Along it lies the inferior thyroid artery. See, this one is the inferior thyroid artery. Anastomosis between superior and inferior thyroid artery, they are anastomosing with each other along the posterior border. Parathyroid glands, you have seen in previous picture, parathyroid glands are lying along the posterior border, and on the left side you get the thoracic duct. This is also in relation with posterior border of the thyroid gland, and it connects the lower part of the two lobes, isthmus. Next we are going to the isthmus, which connects the lower part of the two lobes. It has an anterior surface. See, this part is the isthmus. This is two lobes, and this is isthmus, connecting part, connecting the lower part of the two lobes. And it has an anterior surface covered by the sternothyroid, sternohyoid muscles. These are the muscles. And anterior jugular vein, this one is anterior jugular vein, fossa and skin. Fossa and skin have been removed. Next is posterior surface. Posterior surface lies along the second to fourth rings. Posterior surface of the isthmus. Okay, here we are discussing the isthmus. Next is upper border. Along the upper border lies anastomosis between right and left superior thyroid artery. See, this is the anastomosis between right and left superior thyroid arteries along the upper border of the isthmus. And lower border, here lies the inferior thyroid veins. Here lies the inferior thyroid veins. Okay, so this is the relations of the isthmus. Next we are going to arterial supply of to the gland. Blood supply of the thyroid gland, very important, comes in your long question in theory. This is important for your theory. Okay, blood supply. So you have to write both arterial supply and the venous drainage. So arterial supply of the thyroid gland, it is supplied with arterial blood from these three arteries mainly. Superior thyroid artery, which is a branch of external carotid artery. See, this one is superior thyroid artery, branch from external carotid artery. Inferior thyroid artery, it is a branch of the thyrocervical trunk here. Inferior thyroid artery, this is a branch of the thyrocervical trunk, which is a branch from the subclavian artery. Next, sometimes there is thyroidea ema artery branching directly from the subclavian artery here. This is thyroidea ema artery, mainly supplying the isthmus and lower part of the lobes of the thyroid gland, coming directly from the subclavian artery, or can sometimes arise from the arch of aorta also directly. Next we are going to the venous drainage. So you practice some schematic diagram for arterial supply and venous drainage. So venous drainage, veins are draining via these three veins on each side. Superior thyroid veins emerge from the apex of each lateral lobe. Here, superior thyroid vein arise from apex of each lateral lobe, draining in the internal jugular vein. See, it can draining into internal jugular vein. Middle thyroid veins emerges from lower part of each lateral lobe. Here, middle thyroid vein arising from lower part of each lateral lobe, and inferior thyroid vein. These are the inferior thyroid veins emerge from the isthmus and lower part of the lateral lobe and draining in via the plexus thyroidea impar in the left brachiocephalic vein. See, these inferior thyroid veins are draining into left brachiocephalic vein. So these are the venous drainage of the thyroid gland. Next, we are going to lymphatic drainage. The lymphatic of the gland drained into pre-laryngeal lymph node in front of the cricothyroid membrane, pre-tracheal lymph node in front of the trachea, paratracheal lymph nodes alongside of the trachea, upper and lower deep cervical lymph nodes along the internal jugular vein, and brachiocephalic lymph nodes. Okay, so these are the different lymph nodes draining the thyroid gland. See, these are the lymph nodes have been shown along the internal jugular vein, pretracheal, paratracheal nodes. Next, we are going to nerve supply. The gland is supplied by both the parasympathetic and sympathetic nerves. Parasympathetics are derived from both the vagus and recurrent laryngeal nerves, and their functions are not much prominent. Okay, and the postganglionic sympathetic fibers, they arise from the superior, middle and inferior cervical ganglia, sympathetic ganglia, and supply the gland following the perivascular coat of the gland. And the adrenergic fibers provide vasomotor fibers to the blood vessels supplying the gland, and it is claimed that adrenergic fibers directly stimulate the follicular cells independently of the circulating TSH and enhance the iodine uptake. Synthesis of the iodinated thyroglobulin in the follicles and endocytosis of colloid droplets and subsequent release of T3 and T4 hormones into the circulating blood. So this is function of the adrenergic fibers. Thus it appears that catecholamines and TSH interact with the follicular cell surface at different receptor sites for secretion of thyroid hormones. Okay. So however, TSH is probably exerts a greater role as long-term regulator of thyroid activity, and the adrenergic nerves act as short-term regulator in response to certain stimuli. Okay, so these are the functions of different nerve supply. So nerves are autonomic nerves and hormonal control via TSH. Sympathetic supply from superior cervical and stellate ganglion. Stellate ganglion is formed by middle and inferior cervical ganglion. Parasympathetic supply comes from nodos and local vagal ganglia, nodos ganglia and local vagal ganglia, and the recurrent laryngeal nerves. Left recurrent laryngeal nerve passes behind the inferior thyroid artery and then posterior to the ligament of Berry. Ligament of Berry is lying on the medial surface, connect the medial surface with the trachea. That's why the thyroid gland moves during the deglutition, because the larynx and trachea moves during the deglutition. So the left recurrent laryngeal nerve passes behind the inferior thyroid artery and then posterior to ligament of Berry before passing between the fibers of cricopharyngeal part of inferior constrictor, and it lies behind the capsule of the cricothyroid joint. And right recurrent laryngeal nerve, it loops the first part of the subclavian artery. So these are the relations of the recurrent laryngeal nerve. Relations of recurrent laryngeal nerves are important. The base of the thyroid gland extends up to 5th or 6th ring of trachea and is related to the loop of inferior thyroid artery and recurrent laryngeal nerve. And the nerve presents variable relation with the artery, and sometimes it passes in front, behind the loop of artery, or between the divisions of the artery. And therefore, a ligature of inferior thyroid artery in thyroid operation should be applied away from the gland to avoid injury to the nerve. Okay, because close to the gland there will be variable relations and high chance of injury to the artery, injury to the nerve during ligature of the artery. Okay, so this is comes in your explain why. Okay, why the inferior thyroid artery is ligated away from the gland during thyroid operation. Okay, during removal of thyroid gland, you have to ligate all the arteries to prevent blood loss. So during the thyroid operation, you ligate the inferior thyroid artery away from the gland, and ligate the superior thyroid artery near the gland. Okay. And to avoid injury to the external laryngeal nerve, superior thyroid artery is ligated and sectioned near the superior pole of the thyroid gland, where it is not closely related to the gland as it is at its origin. Okay. So here near the their origin of the superior thyroid artery and external laryngeal nerve, they are located nearby to each other, but they are diverging, they are going away from each other near the superior pole or near the apex of the thyroid gland. So you tie the superior thyroid artery near the apex of the gland. So this is the reason to prevent injury to the nerves. These both of them comes in your explain why question. Okay. Here different relations have been shown of recurrent laryngeal nerve and inferior thyroid. Okay. Here it is non-recurrent because it is arising much above. Now what are the functions of the thyroid hormone? It helps in fetal brain and skeletal maturation, increase in basal metabolic rate, increases the sensitivity to the catecholamine hormones, stimulates the gut motility, increase the bone turnover, and increase in serum glucose and decrease in serum cholesterol. So these are the functions of the thyroid hormone. Okay, functions are asked in your viva during viscera table. Okay. Next, you have learned the histology. In histology, okay, so we are grossly discussing the histology. So this gland consists of many indistinct lobules containing the follicles and many blood vessels enmeshed in fine connective tissue. So these are the thyroid follicles, okay, containing the colloid, thyroid colloid or thyroglobulin, where the hormones are stored. The follicles contain a homogeneous acidophilic material called the thyroid colloid. And the follicles are lined by simple cuboidal epithelium, but epithelium may be columnar or squamous depending upon the function activity of the gland. Okay. When it is not active, it will be squamous. The lining epithelium will be squamous. In moderately active gland, the lining epithelium of follicles will be cuboidal. In highly active glands, colloid will be very less in amount and the lining epithelium of the follicle will be columnar in shape. Okay, so these are the difference in different functional states of lining epithelium of the thyroid follicles. Okay. Next, we are going to the development. Development you read for thyroid gland because it different clinical aspects comes from this development. Okay. So development, it starts developing as endodermal thickening from the foramen cecum. Foramen cecum is lying at the junction between the two limbs of the V-shaped sulcus of the tongue, separating the anterior 2/3 and posterior 1/3 of the tongue. So from the foramen cecum, a endodermal thickening arises first, then the thickening enlarges and it forms a duct that is known as thyroglossal duct. Thyroglossal duct extends more downward and the lower end becomes bifid, lower end of the thyroglossal duct, to form the two lobes of the thyroid gland. And here it is also joining with the ultimobranchial body, and thyroid glands are developing from the thyroglossal duct and ultimobranchial body. And here whole of the gland has developed, and after development of the two lobes and the isthmus, rest of the portion of the thyroglossal duct, they are destroyed. Okay, they are not patent. So this is the remains of the thyroglossal duct. Duct will collapse and it will be destroyed. So these are the two lobes have developed and isthmus. And if the distal end of the thyroglossal duct, if some part of the gland is developing, here is development of the pyramidal lobe. Okay. So pyramidal lobe, the proximal opening of the thyroglossal duct persists as the small blind pit and the foramen cecum of the tongue. And in about 50% people, thyroglosal duct persists as pyramidal lobe extending superiorly from the isthmus. So this is the location of the pyramidal lobe. Okay. What is pyramidal lobe? This is also asked in your viva in viscera table. Next, we are going to the clinical aspect of this development process and this development of thyroglossal duct. So, first one is thyroglossal cyst. A thyroglossal cyst may be found at any point along the migratory path followed by thyroid gland in the midline of the neck. Okay, here it's a location of foramen cecum at the junction of anterior 2/3, posterior 1/3 of the tongue. From here, thyroglossal duct is extending downward and becomes bifid, forming the two lobes and the isthmus of the thyroid gland. So these are the different locations of the thyroglossal cyst. Some part of the ducts remain patent and there will be fluid collection within the duct to form a cyst. Okay. So that's how thyroglossal cyst is formed. A thyroglossal cyst is a cystic remnant of the thyroglossal duct, and in 50% cases such cyst is located close to the hyoid bone. So this is hyoid bone close to the hyoid bone is the most common location of the thyroglossal cyst. And it may also be found at the base of the tongue or close to the thyroid cartilage. Okay, here near the base of the tongue and at the close to the thyroid cartilage. This is thyroid cartilage. So these are other locations of the thyroglossal cyst. So in patients, you are getting swelling in the midline of the neck in these regions, you suspect for thyroglossal cyst, and this cyst will move. It is connected to the thyroid gland, so it will move during the swallowing or deglutition process. Okay. Next is thyroglossal fistula. Sometimes the cyst is connected to outside by fistula's canal. This cyst ruptures outside and it is connected with the skin. Then it is known as thyroglossal fistula. And the fistula may be primary when it is present at birth, and it may be secondary due to secondary thyroglossal fistula when a cyst ruptures and communicates outside at the later stage. Okay. So this is thyroglossal fistula. These two comes in your explain why or in short note. Thyroglossal cyst, thyroglossal fistula. Next is aberrant thyroid tissue. This is asked in your viva. Part of the long question can come in 1 or 2 marks. Aberrant thyroid tissue, thyroglossal tissue may be found anywhere along the path of the descent of the thyroid gland. Okay, along the path, some of the part can develop into thyroid tissue. So, and it is most commonly found in the base of the tongue, just behind the foramen cecum, and it is subject to same disease condition as thyroid gland itself. Thyroiditis or different other thyroid carcinoma, all this can develop in this aberrant thyroid tissues. Okay, understood? So these are the different clinical aspects of the thyroid gland. Okay, that's all. So you prepare the thyroid gland for your viscera table, its different presenting parts, surface, borders, their relations. Blood supply is also asked in your viva. Its different capsules, ligaments, okay, and you prepare the blood supply of thyroid gland for your theory. Arterial supply, venous drainage. Nerve supply is also sometimes asked in your viva or theory. And those explain why questions are very important. Why superior thyroid artery is ligated near the gland, why the inferior thyroid artery is ligated away from the gland. Okay, these are important. And those parathyroid, regarding the parathyroid glands, superior parathyroid is parathyroid 4 and inferior parathyroid is parathyroid 3 according to their development. Why it is called? This is also one important explain why questions, and these clinical aspects are important. Thyroglossal cyst, fistula, and this aberrant thyroid All those can come in your as a part of long question or yeah, and the development you read, thyroid gland development. Okay. Okay, that's all. Any queries? Any queries regarding today's topic? No queries? Okay, and you have already drawn the thyroid gland in your histology? Also important spotter slide. Okay, thyroid gland. Okay, that's all. Thank you.